Support comes from the Rosa Parks Museum on Troy University's Montgomery campus. Located on the spot of Mrs. Parks' historic 1955 arrest and featuring exhibits that chronicle the history of the Montgomery bus boycott. More information at troy.edu/Rosa Parks.
From Troy Public Radio, this is In Focus, and I'm Carolyn Hutchison. In 1959, Truman Capote persuaded his longtime friend, Nelle Harper Lee, to accompany him to Kansas to interview the accused murderers of a farm family. The result was a landmark book, In Cold Blood, as well as subsequent movies. Alabama native Marianne Weber has written a new play about their trip, which will have its debut at the Wetumpka Depot Theater. Today we get a preview from director Tom Salter, and next week we'll meet the writer of the play, Traveling with Truman and Nelle. Tom Salter, welcome to Troy Public Radio.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be back with you, Carolyn. It's been too long.
You're a radio professional, and you may have fans that remember you from back then.
Well, I don't know that they would remember me, but I certainly enjoyed doing it. I worked part-time when I was at Troy State University, earning my bachelor's degree, and I worked at WTBF and then went from there to a couple other places. But you and I bumped headphones at Selma, wasn't it?
It was. And people are going to be glad to hear you back on the air. But Tom, you're putting on a different hat today.
Yeah.
From radio professional to play director.
Yes, I'm very excited to be a part of new production, and it's new in several different ways. It's a wonderful play. It's a brand new play that Marianne Weber, who is a local playwright, put together. It's a fictional conversation between two very real people. Of course, we know Truman Capote and his very good friend and childhood companion, Harper Lee, Nelle Harper Lee. And they traveled together in Kansas when Truman was working on his In Cold Blood book. And, of course, Nelle is well known for To Kill a Mockingbird, and that book had just been written and was in the process of being published during this time period. But this trip really happened in the 1960s, January of 1960 to be exact. And they were driving along, and what our wonderful playwright, Marianne Weber, has done is imagined what their conversation was like, and I think she's done a masterful job.
You know, Tom, talking about their lives, which are interesting in themselves, but to me, the most intriguing part of their biographies is this trip, because they were going to interview two murderers. What's the story there?
Well, In Cold Blood is about a murder that took place in a small Kansas town where these two convicts, and they're released from prison, and they had heard a rumor of this farmer who had a lot of money. And so they went to his home and killed him and his family in a very brutal way. And they were captured, and eventually they were executed for their crime. And the book, In Cold Blood, is what's called, Capote called it a historical fiction. And it was allegedly the first of its kind, where he took history and added, I guess he used his skill as a novelist to tell the story. It was, of course, highly acclaimed book, became a movie. Then he searched for fame and fortune and found it. And on the other hand, Harper Lee, Nelle Harper Lee, was not interested in fame and fortune. She just wanted to have a nice, quiet life, but make enough money that she could continue to write, which is sort of what she did. And this conversation between the two of them as they travel through rural Kansas imagines what that story would be like.
Tom, as I recall from the movie, Nelle Harper Lee did a lot of the interviewing. Could you determine why that was?
Yeah, actually, It's covered in the play. The people of Kansas didn't trust Truman Capote because he was this very odd little man, and they didn't really want to talk to him. And so he hired his friend, Harper Lee, to go with him and to interview these folks so they would talk more freely to her than they did to him.
As a director, what challenges did you find in bringing Traveling with Truman and Nelle to the Wetumpka Depot Players audience?
Well, the first challenge was that most of the action takes place in a car. So as a director, you are looking for ways to tell the story, and the story is told by word and by movement and action, I guess, as you go through the story. And when you're sitting in a car, there's not a lot of room for movement. But Marianne Weber, the author, the playwright, has been so gracious. And so she's actually made some changes to her play to allow us to have a couple of stops along the way. It allows the actors to actually get out of the car and move around a little bit, and it makes it a little less challenging for me as a director. Another challenge has been the dialect. At least one of our actors is from the South, but she doesn't sound like she's from the South. Helping her discover her inner Southerner has been it. But I guess probably the biggest challenge is these are real people, or they were real people. So being able to have the actors portray these real people is a real challenge. But my two stars have done a fabulous job. David Shellnut and Cammie Phillips are just wonderful, and they are fantastic in the roles, and I know the audience will enjoy seeing them tell this wonderful story.
And Tom, I'm interested in how you got across the relationship between Truman and Nelle, because they had been childhood friends, so comfortable with each other. How did you do that?
You're right. They were very comfortable with each other, and I think part of the challenge is the two actors didn't know each other before they were cast in the show, but you can see the chemistry when they're on stage. The words that Marianne gave us are so familiar, so that they work together so well. They tell stories about their childhood, and they talk about the way things are at the moment, what their hopes and dreams are for the future. I think it works very well.
Tell us when the play will be presented. When is opening night, and how long will it last?
Well, our opening night is the 31st of July at 7 o'clock at the Wetumpka Depot. We also have performances on August 2nd at 2. That's a Sunday matinee. August 4th at 7. August 13th at 7. August 14th at 7. And then we close on August 15th at 7 p.m. The tickets are very reasonably priced, and it's a family-friendly show. It's deep emotionally, and it's a wonderful, wonderful play, and I hope everyone will come see it.
What impressed you the most about this story?
The relationship between Truman and Nelle, or Truman and Harper Lee, so genuine and so loving, and yet there's some conflict there. And so it's a real story about real people, and I hope we've told it in a way that the audience will learn and enjoy.
Traveling with Truman and Nelle, can people get tickets online?
Online is the best way. They can go to wetumpkadepot.com, and they can order their ticket for whatever show they want to come to.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for your visit today. It is great to talk with you after all these years.
Well, thank you, and it's so nice to spend a little time with you again. Hopefully it won't be very long before we can visit again on something else.
That's a good plan. That was Tom Salter, director of the new play, Traveling with Truman and Nelle, at the Wetumpka Depot Theater. Ticket information is at the wetumpkadepot.com website. Thanks for joining us for In Focus, which is a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to get in touch at infocus@troy.edu. I'm Carolyn Hutchison, and this is listener-supported Troy Public Radio.